my father and I were watching a public television telecast of a concert of what was probably the Milestone All-Stars, featuring Sonny, Rollins, and McCoy Tyner, and Ron Carter, and Al Foster. But the particular piece was a duet of Sonny Rollins playing the tenor saxophone and McCoy Tyner playing the piano. I believe it was In a Sentimental Mood, and that video is up on YouTube. But for some reason, I remember it very strongly as being my one and only love. I don't know why that is. But this was the first time I heard McCoy Tyner, and I was completely taken listening to him and watching him in the video with the connection of the human being and his instrument. I was so fascinated. I didn't know anything of his history. I was probably about 12 years old at the time. And so I asked my father, who was a jazz musician, and he was my teacher, is this a new guy? My father said, no, he's been playing for many years, and he sort of came into international renown while he was playing with the John Coltrane Quartet. So when my father told me that, I went to our public library here in Berkeley, and I found Coltrane Live at Birdland. And that was the first album I listened to with McCoy Tyner on it. And I was just completely fascinated with him. I would say I sort of became an instant fan. McCoy Tyner's current album at the time was Fly with the Wind. And I saved up my allowance and went and bought that album. And I felt, because I was slowly piecing together my McCoy Tyner record collection and getting the records that he had made as a leader on the Impulse label and on the Blue Note label, and the records that he had been making for the last 2 years on the Milestone label, getting more records that he made with John Coltrane, more records that he made as a sideman on Blue Note with people like Lee Morgan and Hank Mobley and Bobby Hutcherson and Joe Henderson and Kenny Dorham and these great musicians. And I was just completely fascinated with him. McCoy Tyner became my second hero after Thelonious Monk. And I would just try to buy all his records and play along with the records. But I didn't try to transcribe or anything like that. To me, there was just such a spirit with McCoy, and I had a strong impulse to just defend receiving the music in a spiritual, vibrational kind of way and not analyzing it. I didn't get to hear McCoy Tyner live in person until my first few weeks after moving back to my hometown of New York from Berkeley, which was late spring, early summer of 1982. McCoy Tyner was playing with his band at Fat Tuesdays on 3rd Avenue and 17th Street. And the band included Gary Bartz and the late John Blake on violin, father of the wonderful drummer Jonathan Blake, John Lee playing the electric bass, and Wilby Fletcher on drums. And I spent most of the money that I'd saved to move to New York paying the full cover charge to go to every show for the entire week and just get there early and sit right at the top end of the piano and just watch McCoy. And every night they would open with the trio. He would play Just in Time. And boy, to get the vibration in person after listening only on records all those years. You know, Brett, I can't even hardly put it into words, but man, bless McCoy. McCoy was kind and encouraging to me, but I've always seen him, to be completely honest, as a holy man. And I admittedly, I have a certain kind of a reverence.
Yeah, powerful music. I want to dedicate the show today to another great American hero. I was watching his funeral on TV this morning. I speak of John Lewis. In today's New York Times, He wrote something a few days before he died. I'd like to read a little bit of it here. Though I may not be here with you, I urge you to answer the highest calling of your heart and stand up for what you truly believe. In my life, I have done all I can to demonstrate the way of peace. The way of love and nonviolence is the more excellent way. Now is your turn to let freedom ring. When historians pick up their pens to write the story of the 21st century, let them say that your generation was the one that laid down the heavy burdens of hate at last, and that peace finally triumphed over violence, aggression, and war. So I say to you, walk with the wind, brothers and sisters. Let the spirit of peace and the power of everlasting love be your guide.
In the early 1960s, our next guest reached international prominence as the pianist in John Coltrane's group. Today, he is considered one of the most influential forces in jazz music. This Friday night, he will be appearing at Town Hall in a concert called One Night with Blue Note. Playing tonight with our band, please say hello to the legendary McCoy Tyner. Come on over. Very nice. Come here. You sounded terrific with the band. That was really nice of you to be here. I appreciate it. Tell me about the Blue Note concert. What is that a reference to?
Right. Well, that's I think Blue Note is sort of coming back, alive. It was one of the greatest labels, I think, jazz labels that ever existed, and I think that it's always been there, but now it's being revived.
Oh, good.
And we're
This will be at Town Hall?
It'll be at Town Hall on the 22nd of...
Terrific. It was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you
nice
very
meeting
much.
you.
Well, I haven't had too much to say today. I think the music says it all. This is a music of rebuilding our spirits, which is something we really need at this moment. I know in my case, I couldn't exist without this music. This is my spiritual blood, my life's blood. I was lucky to see McCoy live many times. I interviewed him and I did liner notes for a recording he did with Joe Henderson on Chesky label. McCoy was soft-spoken and humble, and as one of my old girlfriends, Faye, back in 1973 said, he has magic fingers. He does have magic fingers. We're going to go out with something a little light here, lighter than what we've been playing, and that's McCoy with his friend Freddie Hubbard at the Pori Jazz Festival in 1990. I'll be back tomorrow with a pre-birthday broadcast. On Saturday, I turned 71. Oh my God, I don't know how that happened, but here it is. So I'm going to do a lot of stuff tomorrow, play some videos, talk, and thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and if you can, stop by again tomorrow.
Well, it's a very difficult time that we're going through in America. My greatest fear is that one day we may wake up and our democracy is gone.
Hi, I'm Andy Kindler, and I am a comedian. It's true. And here's a joke from my act. Remember when the alt-right was marching through Charlottesville, and they were chanting, "The Jews will not replace us. The Jews will not replace us." Well, they will with that stupid chant. You hire some writers, Nazis. That joke is disturbing, but it's also true. I'm Jewish, but you don't have to be Jewish to know that anti-Semitism is alive and well, and that we are at a crisis point right now with what's going on. And I would like you to go to theywillnotreplaceus.com, because Brett Premack is making a documentary. He's producing one about anti-Semitism. And I think it's really important that it get made. And it can only get made if people who care about the subject contribute and let it get made. And the point to all this, and I'm sorry, I mean, normally I'm supposed to be, funny. And many times after shows, I get, people yell at me. But this is a very serious topic. We don't want another Hitler in America. We already have a guy who is like Hitler, because to me, Trump is exactly like Hitler, except at least Hitler was a veteran. Okay? That's my closing joke. I could close my act with it, but I'm going to continue on to say, go right now to theywillnotreplaceus.com and contribute to Brett Premack's film about anti-Semitism. And let's end the hate in our lifetime. Thank you.
And we got a Jew temple right up the street. Why don't you guys go up there?
There has been a dramatic spike in anti-Semitic incidents.
The nation is continuing to grieve the 11 Jewish worshippers who were gunned down at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh Saturday, in what's being described as the worst anti-Semitic attack in U.S. history.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
I've been fighting racism and anti-Semitism my entire life. Back in the 60s, we took to the streets. Here it is 50 years later, and it's worse. It's much worse. We've descended into a daily shitstorm of ignorance and racism.
We have people coming into the country, or trying to come in. We're stopping a lot of them. These aren't people. These are animals.
My grandparents, Ukrainian Jews, came to America in 1918 to escape the Tsar's pogroms. Although there was no shortage of anti-immigrant sentiment against the waves of people coming from Eastern Europe after World War I, both sides of my family were somehow able to relocate to Hartford, Connecticut. The passengers on the MS St. Louis weren't so lucky. The liner sailed from Hamburg to Havana carrying 937 Jews fleeing the Third Reich. At that point, Before Hitler's final solution, some Jews were able to escape from Germany. But where would they go? No one wanted them. Could the United States have stopped the Nazis' brutal massacre of European Jews?
I don't think they're hateful. I think it's an ideology that has been completely misinterpreted since the Third Reich.
If you did any honest investigation of the Holocaust, you'd realize that it is nothing but an international extortion racket by the Jews to bleed, blackmail, extort, and terrorize their enemies.
How precisely is diversity our strength? What about us? What about our country? We're being invaded.
Give me your tired, your poor are also part of the American ethos.
Or give me your tired and your poor who can stand on their own 2 feet and who will not become a public charge.
This film is a story of racial and ethnic hatred, and one that is particularly relevant in this moment. Utilizes archive audio and video, historical photographs, and interviews. Details the evolution of anti-Semitism in the United States, leading up to the war, and how it shaped America's reaction to the Holocaust. I hope you'll join me in my journey to tell this story. In a few years, there will be no more Holocaust survivors. Anti-Semitism is ascending yet again, hence the importance of the story to younger generations. Thank you for your time and your support of my work.